non-obsessed people, you're not going to understand this. But those of you that are here that are obsessed, you'll totally get it. Car sold, still in my garage. Kurt, who's going to come and get it, I told him that I would do my thing. And I only know one way to do it. So I'm 35 hours into this sucker and about to put another 3 days worth of work into it. But that's, those of you who are obsessed, I think you can relate to this, first of all, I wanted to play with the car. One of my favorite things to do with a car is to do this, to get it. I mean, my GT4 RS that I got over there has been second fiddled because this one is sold and going to go on to the next person. But I enjoy the process of correcting it, protecting it, perfecting it. And so that's what you're going to see here in this video here today. So Kevin's coming up from NXT. We'll get all the particulars of his company name and Instagram and all that so you can follow him. But he's going to do, and I've never seen this done before, he's going to bulk PPF on the car. So he's going to cut it on the car. Like they're going to do it all here by hand in my garage. And I wanted to, because this car looks so good in my garage, I wanted to get all the footage in here. So I talked him into coming up here and doing it at my house. So we're going to do all the areas, the high impact areas. We're going to do the front clip. We're going to do the mirrors, behind the, but in front of the rear wheel here. So we're going to do those areas. We're going to window tint, and we're going to do the windshield protection as well. Well, if you haven't watched the polishing video, you can go check this out. But this is pretty straightforward car to polish. I thought it was going to be really hard. This down here, the reason why it was easier is this pocket up here is not something you'd polish. And so you polish the door like normal, and then the little side blade was a little bit tricky. Other than maybe my Audi S4, Audi A4, which had darn near flawless paint, this was really great. Not hard, not soft, just awesome. No like major scratches or issues. One thing I have to mention, I don't know if we have this in the store yet. Tommy, if you're watching this, we need this in the store. This 2K monster AC hydraulic is incredible. I mean, even on all my lowered cars, my M3, it got up on my M3s this freaking high off the ground, and it got up under there no problem. The other nice thing about this, the bigger wheels, I can jack this up on the Swiss tracks with no problem, with no indenting or messing up the Swiss tracks. Okay. Then I love the headroom. A 4,400 pound jack can lift this little baby car up like it's nothing. I think I'm gonna have to do what you guys know I don't want to do. I'm gonna have to get some frickin' quick jacks. God dang it. Maybe I'll make a new video. Or my worst video of all time. Go watch the quick jacks video. These 10-inch blocks feel dicey. I should have gotten the 8-inchers. Look, it's kind of tall. It feels a little. Let's not mess up the car that's sold. I bought these so that I could do the exhaust on the GT3. And I probably should have bought 4 of them. Sure is nice jacking up a 3,000 pound car though versus my Raptor and Bronco in here. Hey. All right, I take it back. This pit boss is pretty freaking sweet. There we go. That'll make it a little easier for them to access the car. All right, Kevin. How long have you been watching me? Have you been judging me or you've been watching me? A little bit of both?
I've been doing both.
Okay. So you're what do we say, NXTArmor?
NXTArmor.
Okay.
NXTArmor.
I always like to say NXT. Yeah. So New York guy, you'll notice New York City guy, right?
Yes,
right?
yes.
So how did we end up here? What are you doing here?
So 3 years ago, decided to retire.
Okay.
From running a shop in New York for a little bit over 20 years.
Big high volume,
yes.
PPF,
correct.
Paint correction, detailing.
Vinyl, detailing, all that good stuff.
Gotcha.
And one of my clients called and said, hey, I have a car coming.
Yeah.
I need you to take care of it for me. And I said, hey, I moved to Florida.
I'm out.
Well,
What?
he said, well, that's great because the car is in Florida anyways.
Okay.
So next thing you know, I have a Lamborghini at the house, and next thing you know, I have a Ferrari and this and that, and 3 years later, the wife and I are
Back in business.
NXTArmor.
Back in business.
Back in business, yes.
And so what I'm super intrigued is you guys don't use templates. You're what we would call bulking, right?
Correct.
And we're going to share his technique, which I'm excited to watch and excited to see how you guys do it. So what's the process here? Where do you?
So it's very simple. The first thing that we do, we make sure that the car is, as you call it, dialed in. Okay, every vehicle, it doesn't matter what brand, how much the car cost, the paint is always jacked up. Okay.
So I did that for you. I did all the
You were nice enough to do
multi-step
a lot of the hard work. Correct.
So I did the decon, so I clayed it, I iron removed it, I polished it, 2 steps of polishing. I've wiped it down. Now you're still going to need to go through your process to get cracks and crevices and all that. So that brings you up to speed, but normally you'd have several days of
Absolutely,
prep.
just doing prep work.
Gotcha.
Right,
So
that's why we normally take about 2 weeks to do a vehicle. So now we need to go to all the crevices and make sure that there is no dust at all. Dust is our enemy. So we go around with some chemicals and hot water and clean towels, and you're gonna notice in a few how we clean this very, very nicely. Okay? Once we do that, we make sure that everything around the vehicle is as dust-free as possible, okay? And then we will go ahead and start applying the paint protection film. Before that, again, we're old school. So we literally take a measuring tape and we measure each panel, okay? Once we know the measurement, we take the film out the box, we hand cut it, we place it on top of the panel that we're going to cover with the film. And as you're gonna see my wife do, once the film is applied, then we need to make sure that all the edges are nice and clean. So we need to remove the solution, which is basically baby oil, baby soap, and distilled water, a mixture. We have to remove that so they can adhere to the surface. The quicker the better.
Got it.
Okay? The whole big deal about installing the way that we do versus others, pre-cut will give you a finished line on the product. To us, it looks ugly, okay? To the client at first, it looks okay because we found that most customers are not educated on the process. So they think that's normal until a few months later, the dust, the dirt starts accumulating in all those areas. And then it starts looking bad and the film starts to peel. We try our best to tuck in the film so it can basically look like it came from the factory with film already on it. So the reason why she trimmed is 2 reasons. One, so that I can get to the edge and flush it out. But 2, and more important, to release some of the tension of the film, okay? So that when the memory kicks in, it's not pulling too much, and this stays nice and beautiful the way it is now. So she noticed something that she doesn't like, and the film shows any imperfection under the film would enhance it. What makes her so good is that she catches everything, or tries to catch everything afterwards. And that's a big deal. Somebody else would just trim this and move on. She'll look at the overall piece before she'll trim it and then figure out, and 9 out of 10 times it's not the film, it's the surface underneath. It could be dirt, it could be glue, it could be a hair, or it could be a scratch. And then obviously we know when to, give up. So little things like this is what makes our installation unique. I want to tuck it in as much as possible so that when you look at this panel, you don't see an ugly line going across here that eventually is going to be full of dirt. We don't want that. So day 2, as you can see, ProMaster's is basically covering the interior of the vehicle to avoid damages on the interior. This is something that a lot of shops, unfortunately, don't take their time to do. And I'm gonna tell you that 75 of the work is prep work. If you want this to come out as good as possible, your prep work is gonna dictate that. So we're gonna go ahead and use Ultrafit's their top of the line SV series film. And what we're gonna do is Robert is gonna go ahead and with his computer, he's gonna measure the tint that came from the factory. And we're gonna do is try to match as close as possible to what came from the factory. On the windshield itself, we're gonna be using 70% of the same film. Okay, so it's very light. You can still drive safely at nighttime. Okay, but more importantly, it's blocking all that heat from coming into the car. So again, we're sticking with Ultrafit to do the entire work. And we have the best tinter in all Florida, possibly the East Coast, doing the work. You'll see that he's very articulate about how he goes on the application.
This could be a service I provide. It's just so much work, this obsessed life of getting everything done and getting the car sort of set up before we even drive the darn thing. But this was my value prop that I bought this car, ordered this car 3 years ago, and wasn't expecting to get this car at the same darn time. And so I'm committed, and I only know one way to do things. When you commit, you got to execute. And I really enjoy this whole process of just all the steps to go and goes into getting a car dialed. Because when you get it, it looks like this. There's glue, there's sanding marks, there's dirt, there's no tint, there's no PPF, and there's no perfection. It's so funny, I saw a lot of comments from people saying, how it's laughable that you get a car from the factory and you have to do all this, but this is This is what it means to be obsessed. I mean, most people don't care about this. I do. And so we're solving that problem. And then I'm able to leverage, you know, life. He just said he's done over 20,000 cars, leveraging expertise to come in and use their talent to put together the package. So you just rough cut it, you measure, rough cut it,
yes,
and then cut it exact when it's on. Yeah. And so this Ultrafit, have you been using this Ultrafit film a lot?
Yeah.
And so this is a heat rejecting.
This is 97 infrared rejection.
Okay.
And it's a good thing about this, I don't know, to get that level of infrared rejection, you gotta go very thick, and this is not very thick.
Gotcha.
So it's not that hard to shrink.
So what is, you remember 3M crystalline? You remember how bad, did you ever use that, how bad that was?
Yes.
It was like thick as, you know, as can be.
Yeah.
And so the technology has improved to where now we get better performance than some of those original heat rejecting films, and it's easier for you to work with, right?
Exactly.
And then hopefully, you know, we don't end up with the distortions that you'd get.
We had it before.
Yeah. And then we'll do the whole entire windshield, which I'm a huge advocate of. Just takes, I don't want to tint the windshield. I'm not looking to make it darker or look better. I'm looking to get rid of the heat and the UV and all that. And then I don't ever really wear sunglasses when I'm driving in my cars.
If you get to these edges, if you see, this looks like it came from the factory, and that's actually what we aim for. Unlike other places, we try our very best to minimize the risk factor here. So we don't take a file to it. We're not trying to break glass, okay? Robert is skilled enough that with his knife, he can shave it down so we can look, again, that OEM factory look. Now we're doing the windshield, and we're adding the Ultrafit VS in a 70% tint so it can protect the interior of the vehicle. Doing the most difficult part of the job, which is squeegeeing. He's making sure that every single bubble is out, and it's not an easy thing to do without getting the film contaminated. And once you get contamination in there, you have to do everything all over again. And obviously we don't want to do that. So it takes a lot of years of practice, you know, to achieve where, you know, the OG spec, let's call it. So basically we applied the paint protection film to the windshield, and right now they're working with the squeegees to make sure. The beauty of this film, Windcrest Evo by Ultrafit, is the clarity, to the self-healing properties of it, and it's also hydrophobic. The point of having this PPF on the windshield is not only to protect the glass, but to minimize the usage of the wipers when you're driving. All right, so to end the front end PPF on this vehicle, we're doing the hardest part of the car, which is basically the front bumper, okay? We prepped it and prepped it again and cleaned it and cleaned it and cleaned it a few times. And now we're squeegeeing. As you can see, it's all hands on deck. You have Insta-Gel, you have hot water, you have soapy water, and it's just a process. You gotta take your time because it's gonna show at the end. And every bumper, every car is different. You know, the bumper is gonna dictate which way we pull the film, where the film is gonna land. As she's squeegeeing, she's also looking at the shape so that if there is a need for a release cut, okay, she knows where to put it. And a release cut is basically a cut that we will do on the film so that when the car flexes, remember we're in a controlled environment now, the car is not moving, okay? The car is not exposed to the element yet. Once this car goes outside, the car's gonna flex, okay? So what's not moving now might move later. So we have to account for that. So what we're doing now, as you can see, what she's doing, she's using the hot water to get rid of what was helpful once, which is the soap. Now in the drying process, in the finishing process, we wanna get rid of the soap so that the film can adhere to the paint better and quicker. And then we'll let it rest for a while and we'll let the film do its thing. Again, another good thing about this company, this film, is so easy to work with. Okay, and as you can see, the orange peel factor here is non-existent. You know, that's a beauty. That's something that in all the years of me playing with PPF, that's the #1 complaint from every customer. Either the glue, so the film gets yellow, or I don't want PPF because, you know, it was either poorly installed or I don't like, you know, the orange peel factor. It's just not working for me. Yeah, the rest is just what she's doing. She's gonna do it another 50 times. So look at this area. It looks done, right? Bare trimming, so forth. A little bit of water underneath that. She'll cut it out. However, if you come up here, you'll notice film, okay, this much film on top of this. So you ask yourself, why haven't she trimmed this? The reason why, we want as much leverage. We want the film to pull that way as much as possible so that this here, okay, can be as smooth as possible at the end. So pretty much we're at the final stages of completing the bumper. As you can see, she is doing the final trimming. Okay, we'll go ahead and trim this area out, clean it up, and then it's ready for a very important stage, which is getting some much needed sun time so that it can dry. Then part of the process that what we do is about a week after everything is done, and check your corners, check your edges, make sure that nothing is lifting. If it is, you still have enough time that you can wash it out and, you know, tuck it in and so forth. You guys all know to get Matt excited is a job. You know, I think, again, the folks at Ultrafit did an amazing job with this film. And I'm just glad that I'm able to offer this to my clients. You know, we're happy with it.
All right, everybody, you can see the red Emira has been moved out, the white Emira is in, the giveaway is in full swing as of the time you're watching this video. Mike and I have starting the suspension, the tools are out, we're in deep into the project. But thanks to Rob and Kevin for really digging in and coming up to my garage, a little out of their, their space, their element, coming and doing the really awesome Ultrafit, both window tint and PPF on the car. So the white one will be the giveaway car. It's going to run from June 1st through July 15th, and then we're going to pick somebody. Every dollar you spend gets you a chance to win. So anyway, thanks for watching the PPF install. Hope you enjoyed that video. My first time seeing bulk done, my first time using Ultrafit, and I will say Kevin was right. The tint is awesome and the PPF is really great. So thanks for watching. I do still have the coating video where I coat it with Geon Mose, and then the interior video where I show you a little bit more of the Leader Max that's coming soon to the US. So check out those videos. It'll be out in the next couple weeks. Thanks for watching. See you soon.